Hi, good evening. It's completely dark and that's the moon over there. My name is Anthony. Stop introducing yourself, but what if the viewer doesn't know who I am? My name is Anthony Perrier and I've been making videos on YouTube for 7 or 8 years now. I make videos mainly about automotive topics. As you can see behind me, there's a Peugeot 505 Phase 1. I'm in the process of swapping it with a Mercedes OM 606 engine, which is an inline 6-cylinder, 3-liter displacement, turbo diesel. The goal is to make 700 horsepower on the dyno with this car, which is pretty cool. But in the meantime, as you probably saw in the title and the thumbnail, yeah, we're going back to our roots a bit. The Peugeot 206. You probably know this, you've probably already seen it. My first car was a Peugeot 206, and I have to admit, it's kind of my own little Madeleine de Proust, you know? Anyway, all that to say that I really have a special connection with the 206 that continues on. A few months ago, with my friend Amin, I went to the Moroccan desert to drive a bit on the dunes, have some fun, and I really enjoyed it. By the way, Amin, 205 Total Adventure is creating a humanitarian rally raid that will start in October this year, and I thought I absolutely want to do it, and I want to do it with my own car. I bought it from Alain Prost.
Even with a ton of sand in the car, you drive comfortably.
And so, of course, the idea had already started. Even before I left Moroccan soil, I was still at Casablanca airport. I posted a little thing on Instagram asking if anyone was selling a 206 with a 1.4 HDI engine cheap. Obviously cheap, please. Why a 1.4 HDI? Because it's a very small engine, very economical, it barely uses any fuel, and you're extremely light because actually I realized that in Morocco, or at least in the sand, what's important isn't necessarily the power, it's the weight. That's the most important thing. It's about weight. The lighter you are, the less likely you are to sink into sand, especially without four-wheel drive. It's the best choice. So, a 1.4 HDI anyway, I found this car. I paid 300 euros for it. It's a 1.4 HDI 5 doors, multiplexed and looks nice, but with 240,000 kilometers, it needs some work. And so once I had the car, I thought I definitely needed to get it ready. So the goal is to make a proper good-looking solid car, reliable, strong, robust, ready to face the desert. So with Hugo, that's what we did. So yes, I agree with you, like this, it really looks like we did some crazy preparation. In reality, not so much. Honestly, the only thing we actually did on the car, in terms of technical modifications, was changing the wheels. We went from the original 14-inch wheels in 165/60, 175/65 R14 to 195/65 R15. So already it feels like the car is raised. No kidding, it really looks like the car is much more muscular than before. On top of that, we put in 16mm spacers, rims with quite a bit of offset. I think they're from a 207. So yeah, this is already a great first step, and it gives a little preview of what this car is going to become. And you could also see in the previous shots before this moment that there's a new paint job on the car. So, when I say new paint, it means I went and bought a total of 8 cans of Montana spray paint. Red and blue, nothing new there. Then I did this. We did this. With Hugo, we did the red and I did the blue. Like just now. That's why it looks a bit messy. I took the masking tape off the car literally 40 minutes ago. So, please, I'd ask you not to judge my painting skills too harshly, because as much as the matte red is just beautiful, like, it's really well done, let's be honest. But the blue, no, the blue has some problems, and I really don't know why there are those issues. Anyway, it doesn't matter, and I'm really gonna ask you not to judge me on the quality of this paint job, because the whole car is going to be completely sanded and polished, either at the end of this episode or in the next one. But yeah, clearly just with the tires, the car has already gained a few precious centimeters of ground clearance. It's really not bad. But I won't lie to you, it's not enough. When we went into the desert, we realized that the higher the 206 was, the fewer problems we had. Because actually, if the car is too low, it'll just get stuck in the sand. And you can accelerate as much as you want. With the wheels spinning, it'll just make the car sink deeper and deeper into the sand. And once the chassis is resting, or more simply the side skirts are resting, it's over. So in the first part of this video, we're going to learn how to lift a 206 in one of the simplest ways possible. What you have here in front of you is a pair of front shock absorbers from a Berlingo. And to lift this sturdy 206, we're simply going to take the springs and put them on our 206 shock absorbers. Technically, according to Amin, just this small modification will give us a few precious extra centimeters on our front axle. If that's not enough, I have plenty of ideas in mind that should completely satisfy you. First of all, before we do a lift, we're going to measure the current ride height. That way, once it's lifted, we'll know by how much it was raised. And we can post it on Reddit. Oh damn, yeah, that's true. This Milwaukee tape measure displays centimeters and inches. In the video, all measurements will be in inches, so you'll need to convert them yourself. 20 isn't precise. 26.5 inches. How big is my thumb? My thumb measures 2.5 inches. So I've literally had this tape measure at home for months. And you should also know that I have a Land Rover Defender 110. The Defenders come in 90, 110, and 130. I'm going to check what the 110 means. I think it's the wheelbase. So it should be from here. 113, so it's more like 111. It's 3:30 in the morning. I know. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not going to show you how to take apart the shock absorbers on a 206. There must be 48 videos on my channel that show it. So I'll do a time lapse. Everyone who works on the 206 knows that's the problem. It's always the same problem. The control arm, same thing every time. Oh! I managed to get that damn control arm out. I might have found a solution that's very low budget. Without any big tools from brands like this or that, costing 150 euros. So for now, it looks good. I hammered on the knuckle. So we should be able to take out our first strut. This side is the easiest one because it's the long drive shaft side, so we have the drive shaft bearing. So even if we pull on our drive shaft, at worst, apart from popping out the joint, we can't drain the gearbox. And here from the compartment, you have the 3 13mm bolts for the strut top mount. I really didn't miss working on the 206. I really didn't miss it. I'm glad I started with this. It's really good for learning, because thanks to working on the 206 today, I know how to do a lot of things, because learning on a 206 is a pain. If you know how to do that, you can work on any front wheel drive. Come on, bastard! Why are the springs blue? Are they sport springs? No. And actually, now that the 206 strut is out, if we compare it with the partner/Berlingo strut, we realize they're almost the same. The one from the 206 is a bit longer, but I imagine that the coils of the Berlingo spring are a bit thicker. We'll measure them. So here we're at 0.5 inches, and here we're at 0.55 inches. This one is a bit sturdier, so potentially once the Berlingo/partner spring is mounted on the 206 shock absorber, it will be stiffer. So the 206 will sag much less. That's a good thing.
Like Anthony, who introduces himself at the beginning of every video, there's a principle of redundancy in the voiceover's intervention. In this case, my intervention is due to the fact that, despite his microphone costing over $300 US, Anthony can't be bothered to check the battery level. And there are still some takes in this video with terrible sound quality. Long live the echo.
And then, the goal is to put our freshly disassembled shock absorber into a spring compressor. So the point is to use these ones. Because actually, when you use these, they don't try to kill you. That's pretty cool. Because Francois is lending it to me. Let's thank Francois in the comments. Thanks to you, I won't die today. Here you go. We do this specifically to create this play, which shows the shock absorber is no longer under tension, as the spring's job is to keep everything tight. You see? Of course. And now, we can just unscrew the top mount. After that, there's the totally dumb method of removing the cap without compressing the spring. But people have died for less than that, so let's avoid it. After that, don't lose anything, because everything we're taking apart here, we're going to put back together. We just want to remove the spring. After that, we reassemble it exactly as it was. Don't forget the little washer that's under the top mount. I forgot it in a video when I started YouTube years ago. It didn't go very well for the cap. If you don't know, it's the washer that fits here on the shock absorber. Without it, your top mount will only sit on 2mm at the shock absorber's center. Bumps and potholes eventually make a hole in the top mount, but the washer covers a wider area. It's simple, just remember it. Next, you just have to do exactly the same thing on the Berlingo/partner shock absorber. By the way, the reference number is written right here. Here, for example, it was still a little too tight. I should have taken one more turn before loosening it. But anyway, what I'm interested in isn't the shock absorber, it's the spring. Now that the Berlingo partner spring is removed, we'll place it next to the original from the 206 and compare their heights. So, I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little confused because here we have the original one from the 206 1.4 and here we have the one we just removed from the Berlingo/partner. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, they look like exactly the same. So Amina brother, I don't know what's going on in your head, I don't know why you gave me this, but maybe you have a good reason. I hope I didn't take this apart for nothing, or I'd be annoyed. We'll still try to install the spring and see what happens. If there's no difference, well, that sucks. Alright, so, just for the record, I finished putting the passenger side back together. I just did a dry fit. There's a screw here and there. Nothing is really holding it together yet. I haven't put the sway bar back yet, so that way we'll immediately see if the car leans to one side or the other, or if it's perfectly level. The sway bar is what connects the two front suspensions. If you remove the sway bar, the wheels aren't connected, so if one is higher, it stays higher. Attaching the sway bar balances things out as the higher wheel pulls on the lower one, making a minor difference. That's just to avoid comments like, you didn't put the... You have to remove the sway bar if you want to measure. There will likely be a small difference since the spring diameters differ slightly. But in my opinion, that's not what's gonna keep us from getting stuck in the sand dunes compared to a stock car. I don't think the difference is that obvious, you know? So, we'll have to come up with another lift system. Okay, there's a slight difference. There's an extremely minimal difference, but there is a difference. I think you can see it on video. So, I went to get my measuring tape. The car looks much higher. So, what do we have? What is it? We're at 28¼ inches. How did we gain 1.75 inches? But how is that even possible? I don't understand.
After this mysterious gain of 1.75 inches, Anthony thought he could still gain a few more inches. So, he found some inches to raise the suspouses of the 2.6 inches.
Basically, you see here, we worked on the spring, so on the rebound of the suspension. That means when we set the car down, it will tend to go down less because the spring is stronger. Now, we can work on a fixed mounting point. You see, originally, it's sandwiched in. Well, it goes into the spindle there and goes all the way down underneath. So that means that here, for about 2 or 3 inches, our shock absorber is held in there. What we can do, I don't think I'm making this up, I think I saw this in a Baptiste Pitois video years ago when he lifted a C15 or 205. I can't recall which. He's done so many crazy things, it's hard to remember where I got this idea. But the idea here is that it's an easy and free lift. You just have to unscrew this bolt here, give a few hits with a hammer on our spindle, lower the spindle, screw the bolt back in, and if needed, we'll weld a small steel plate here on the shock absorber so it can't move back up even if it comes loose or with vibrations or anything like that. So, as I was saying, this part here on the spindle measures exactly 2 inches, so we're going to make a mark here. So, 2 inches, honestly, we can take off half, whatever man, 1 inch, we'll take off 1 inch, dude. And so now, in theory, if I hit here, after a while, it won't go up anymore. I might need to raise the shock absorber or lower the subframe like before. We'll have less stress on our control arm, and therefore less stress on our steering knuckle. An inch. We're still off by a few thousandths, right? Exactly 1 inch. Actually, that's a good idea. Except it might really put some strain on the drive shafts. We'll see how it goes when we go test the car, huh? I'm actually realizing as I'm filming this video right now that 90% of my videos are just about changing the height of a car. Either I lower it or I raise it. I don't do anything else. That's it. That's my thing. Now we're talking. This is gonna be fun. This is funny. Now normally this is going to be interesting. That's a little bit better. So even after removing and disabling the front stabilizer bar, everything is lifting up. Me, I don't really understand the physics. There you go. Now it's starting to get interesting. It's not crazy yet, but it's starting to get interesting. I'm not going to stop here. I'm just hurrying in terms of ground clearance. Here, we're at 29¼ inches instead of the original 26.5. Now it's starting to get nice. We're still going to cut the fenders later, which will make it look even higher. Well, I won't lie, I thought this side would be easier, but I don't think so for two reasons. First, it's a 206. Anthony, why do you keep featuring 206s on the channel? It's horrible. It's total crap. Not because it's crap, but because these are cars that are 20 years old, that have been poorly maintained, that weren't expensive, and today are even cheaper. So, it's crap. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. Now that I've let out my anger, the two reasons why it's really crap are that it's seized up and the control arm is shot. So actually the steel rod is seized in the knuckle, but the control arm is shot. So when I press on it, the control arm moves, but the rod stays stuck in the knuckle. So I got out the reciprocating saw. There you go. First annoying thing, but this should do it. Second annoying thing is that on this side, there's no drive shaft bearing. So it's very likely that as soon as I get on the control arm to remove it, the gearbox will drain onto the ground. There you go, the control arm broke apart. Do we have gearbox oil on the ground? Not yet. So, the trick is to keep the drive shaft pushed as far as possible toward the gearbox, because if you start pulling all your stuff out, it's game over. So now, my control arm is no longer a problem. I found a used control arm that's worn out, but it'll do the job just fine, at least for testing. That's why I allowed myself to use this wonderful Milwaukee reciprocating saw. That's really nice. So now I'm going to push my drive shaft as far as possible toward the gearbox. And now I'll have to pull my entire hub outward while keeping the drive shaft engaged like this in the gearbox. That's done. So now I have my whole steering knuckle and shock absorber assembly. That's a very good thing. I'll leave it like that. I'm taking out my torsion bars. Now the bolt up there is a 17. I'm getting a bit fed up. I've never liked working on the front ends of the 206. It's really poorly designed. I'm sorry to say it. And now, in theory, despite the control arm underneath and the drive shaft underneath, if I hit this, it comes off easily. I just need to make sure my part doesn't pull the drive shaft, since I think I drained the gearbox when I got the car. There you go. The shock absorber isn't attached to anything anymore. But now the knuckle isn't either. The knuckle is only being held by my brake hose. Now that's making quite a mess for us. Alright, so the goal of this little series on YouTube, because yes, of course it's going to be a series with several episodes, is already to briefly return to our roots and remind ourselves where we come from, since we started with those cheap, low-cost cars. Now, we create things like this. Sometimes it's helpful to take a break and do familiar things we're good at, things that come easily and that we don't have to think twice about, of course. Here's what's next. I won't film this part. I'll remove the shock absorber's spring, install the new one, and lower our steering knuckle by 1 inch relative to the shock absorber. We'll continue from there. Alright, first of all, I want to apologize because I know this isn't the best filmed or best lit video ever. And proof of that is this static shot. I'm hidden behind my car and talking to you. It's a disaster. Why? Going back to basics really means going back to basics. And anyway, it's summer. No one is going to watch this video. So I don't feel like stressing out. What else can I say? I've finished this side. However, it's possible that when I put the car down, it'll make all sorts of click, clack, bang, pop noises because nothing is screwed in. The control arm on the driver's side, there are the bolts, but they're not, there are, anyway. Wow. No, seriously, my god, but it's even higher. Now, it's on the ground, like, there's 8 inches between the tire and the fender. Wow! But seriously, wow, the camber is positive. We'll have to find a solution for that, huh? But wow, the car is huge. 30.5 inches. So, wait, at the beginning of this video, between the ground and the bottom of the fender, we had 26.5 inches. Now, we have 30.5 inches. I just did a 4-inch lift. It's huge. I mean, compare it with the other 206. No, but how is that possible? I just put in Berlingo springs that were the same size and shaved 2 centimeters off the spindle. Now, we need to take care of the rear. I'm not going to lie, it's midnight right now, so obviously I'm going to head home. But tomorrow, I'll take care of the rear, and I have several ideas for it. The first idea is to take out the torsion bars, lift the car, and put the torsion bars back in. That's it, the easiest lift in the world. But it's got 240,000 kilometers on it. So easy? Well, you know. Or I could just drop the rear axle, put in spacers, make some spacers, and bolt the rear axle back on with longer bolts. I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't really feel like taking out the torsion bars. The axle doesn't have any play. We're not necessarily going to change the axle. It'll probably have some play after coming back from Morocco, but damn, I'm shocked. It's huge. Yeah, so a few days later, here we are. A lot of water has gone under the bridge, like really a lot. And it turns out that I've changed my mind about several things. First of all, regarding the front axle, that crappy lift I did at the shock absorber foot in the pivot, that's gone. Because actually, when you have something that supports 5 centimeters and you remove half of it, it gives, let's say, a lot less support. You see what I mean? Like, to the point where I drove 100 meters with the car and both front wheels were like this. I was literally losing my hubs, my spindles, both front wheels. My dog just burped in my face. Seriously, enough is enough, man. So this system is gonna go, or at least instead of raising it by 1 inch at this point, we're not going to be greedy, we'll raise it by ½ an inch, or to use proper measurements, 1 centimeter instead of 2.5. I think that'll be a lot less dangerous, so that's what we'll do today. To maintain a big lift, we'll add front spacers too, but I'll discuss that later. For now, let's focus on the rear axle. And if you don't know how it's set up under a 206, you have to imagine that here you have a bolt. A little further over here, you have another bolt. And of course, it's the same on the other side. You see here, I've removed the bolt. So here, clearly, our idea is to put small steel spacers 4 centimeters thick between the rear axle bushing and the body. Let me work, please. Damn, this damn dog is terrible. Stop. Yeah, but I'm glad to see you. I don't spend all day with him anyway. What were we saying? Yes, there's another issue. I thought, for the shims, I'll use slightly longer screws, 4 centimeters. They don't exist. For comparison, this is a screw from the rear axle. It's 12 millimeters in diameter. And the problem is that the pitch, the distance you have between each thread here is small. That's called a fine pitch. The original screw is already quite long, either 11 or 15 centimeters, I can't recall exactly, but it's still lengthy. And just to show you that there's a real difference in threading, here we have a standard M12 pitch, so that's M12 by 1.75 millimeters. And here we have our rear axle bolt. The thread is much finer on the rear axle bolt. So it turns out that after a lot of thinking, the only solution I found without bothering to remake a mock rear axle is this. And believe me, it bothers me because I'm not convinced by this strategy. A threaded rod, M12 by 1.5, 1 meter long, that I'm going to divide into 4 sections and screw into my frame with thread locker. The advantage is that it's grade 12.9, so technically even stronger than the original bolts, which are grade 10.9, so the plan is simple. We take the measurement of the original bolt, we add 4 centimeters for the spacer, and 2 centimeters for the nut, since, well, we won't have a bolt anymore, but nuts that will tighten our assembly. And since I'm not completely stupid, I got lock nuts and regular nuts. That way, once the lock nut is tightened all the way, I'll lock it in place with a regular nut on top. If there's thread locker on top, it shouldn't move. People are already getting mad in the comments. I think the car lift is one of the greatest inventions in human history. I've been struggling on the ground like an idiot for a week, even though I have a car lift. So basically, to be able to take my measurement properly, I'm going to screw this into my car until it stops. It's not much. Oh yeah, I think I've bottomed out against the body here. It's not much, it's not tightening at all anymore, it's loosening but it's not tightening at all. So, we'll set it there, we'll tighten it to a certain torque. Up to this point, I trust the assembly. Of course, we're not going to raise it by a meter, so we don't really care. Over 4 centimeters, the lever arm isn't exceptionally big either. To determine how much to cut my threaded rod, I make a small stack. My plan is to put a jack here and unscrew this part. That way it drops the rear of the assembly. The front is still on the bushings. Here, the 4 centimeters of gap are there. So what I was thinking, you see, was like sliding my spacer, bam, right here. So potentially a washer on top of the spacer or, damn, I don't know. Yeah, actually, the threading in the body is much higher than the frame rail. That's what kind of threw off the measurement. But anyway, basically, you see, I'm making a little sandwich. I put this here, then I insert my bolt through here. I put it in place. I'm going to have to loosen the front of the rear axle. Yeah, there's no choice. I think you get the idea of how it all stacks up. I'll try this without getting hurt. No, it was Actually, I realized that the threaded holes in the body weren't closed off. I just thought I would screw my threaded rod into the bottom. That's it. Not at all, it's actually a through thread, open on both ends. Call it what you want, but it doesn't stop anywhere. It was just used like a nut to bolt the axle up against the frame rail. So, the threaded rod was a stupid idea, until I opened the trunk and removed the carpet. And actually, I realized that by pure chance, there were hatches here. They're pre-cut, you know? There you go. So you can access our threaded rods. So, well, that changes everything, right? Because now, I can just put a nut on, in the end. And really, that's what it's made for. I mean, you see, I removed the carpet and there it was. So, perfect. I imagine that when I open the doors and remove the back seat under the plastic here, I think I'll have pretty much the same hatch. Give me 20 minutes and I'll show you the hatches. Original ones. Well, yeah, honestly, as you just saw in the time-lapse I just filmed for you, as soon as I removed the plastic trim, I found 2 access hatches to our rear axle mounting points. Exactly like on the 205, 206, 306, this little 206 is really well made. Look, the hatch is right here. And so we have access to our threaded rod. It's really well designed. And you see, there's the same hatch on this side. So anyway, there you have it. What I'm going to do now is take care of the 4 mounting points. I'll still use thread locker and everything that's needed. I'll clean everything, blow away all the dust. Because by finding the hatches, I made a lot of dust. And I'll need to get rid of that dust so it's as clean as possible. And no, the hatches are not made in the car's side members. The side members are underneath. I think so, but I'm not sure. Don't worry. I made good progress. So, you get it. I made my little sandwich assembly. Tightened to 90 Newton meters. Nylock nut. Tightened to 90 Newton meters.
He sounds tired. That's not a good sign.
Regular nut to use as a lock nut. As you can see, I'm not great at judging the length of threaded rods by eye. Because here, we're good. And here, well, it still works. I think my spacers here are too small. I think I'll ask Ulysses to make me some that are a bit wider, just to be sure. And at the top, I did exactly the same. Nylock nut. Yeah, well, you got the ID. You got the ID. I'm tired. You got it. That's done. I'm putting the wheels back on. We'll lower the car, and we'll finally see it raised at the back. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Honestly, that was really the easiest lift to do. Let's be honest. There were a couple of small design flaws, sure, but normally it's not very complicated. For those wondering, the brake hose and ABS sensor aren't being pulled. Maybe the exhaust pipe is. I might need to modify the end. It's a freaking monster truck, man. What the fuck? Well, there you go. Now we're talking. Oh yeah, and by the way, I know the video started quite a while ago. At no point did I explain to you why the car was white, red, and blue. Well, the answer is really simple. It's because I love my country, right? I love it. No, actually, I really love my country. I love blue, white, red, all that. I have no problem with that. But that's not the reason. I don't want to see any confusion or weird stuff. No, those guys saying that, you're overdoing it, you're going too far and it's exasperating. No, Constant, add a few images for us. There, the Dakar Range Rover Trident, that's the inspiration, that's it, it's exceptional. I think it's magnificent. And actually with Hugo, we agreed on a Trident inspiration for the 206. In this episode, you won't see anything more about the livery, I'll work on it a bit later. In this episode, we just have the chassis modifications to make the car more imposing with better ground clearance. That's it, objective number 1, numero uno of this episode. But to tell you a bit more, the whole point of the livery is that we put our own sponsors on it. So in this case, well, for example, Milwaukee, you see that I took the eye with the red dot, kind of like the Trident on the Range. The Motul logos, however, will stay because on the Range, well, there's Motul as well. And for us, well, I think you figured it out, but we're sponsored by Motul, so that works out pretty well. And as for the rest, you'll see, it's going to be really nice. So now, the next goals will be visual. Actually, we're gonna cut around the fenders to make it look like the car is even bigger and maybe to fit even bigger tires. That could be nice. And then, for cutting the fenders, honestly, I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. We're just gonna take like this edge here. So, I don't know, there must be about an inch and a half, and I'm going to trace it all the way like that, and I'll cut the rear fender, front fender. I'm not too worried about the rear fender, there's no liner, so it's going to be very easy. Here, we have a liner, but we're really going to be right on the edge. In the front, though, I think on the side skirt, by the door, we actually have a lip. Well, we'll see about that later anyway. I'm going to trace this. I'm going to cut. By the way, if you're wondering, these tires here, so the size I gave you, 195/65/15, won't fit on the 206 unless you do a bit of bodywork, or at least least some persuasion. You see, here, the side skirt took a slight hit. If you follow the line of the side skirt, we're right up against the tires. So, if you have a bit of suspension travel, a bit of movement, it's not going to work. That's the next step, cutting the fenders to make it even more monstrous. I really love crazy off-road projects like this. A 300 euro car, you can't beat that. Alright, I removed 4.5 centimeters all around our wheel arch. I'm realizing that here at the front my curve might be too straight, so maybe I'll continue the curve a bit to follow the shape of the wheel, like at the back. We'll set it down now because it will look about 4.5 centimeters higher visually, which is really cool. I'm honestly very happy to do this on a 206. Now it's set in place. It's at its final height, guys. No, this is too much actually. What I've done here is too much. Or maybe the wheels are too small. Maybe that's the problem. In that case, I see only one solution. There's only one. Because it turns out that for some reason I can't figure out, I have 4 Suzuki Jimny wheels, all-terrain, and especially in 205/70 R15, which potentially gives us a few extra centimeters of free lift, like 4. I didn't show you these wheels right away because it turns out I don't think they'll fit. First, in terms of turning radius, I think we're going to mess up everything in the front, and second, on the passenger side of the car, there's the fuel filler neck that might also get in the way, and I say it doesn't hurt to try. So, of course, these are just test rims. If it turns out they fit and we want to keep them, we'll put on the other rims. Okay. Looking at it like this, it doesn't seem to make a huge difference. We'll lower the car, let's see what happens. Yeah, it's really big. A really long hour just passed. But now, basically, I did a beautiful finish on the rear fender. I actually trimmed almost 5 centimeters off it. I widened it slightly here to better match the wheel's curve, and did the same at the front, trimming everything by about 3 centimeters, but a bit less. But here's the problem, this was the rocker panel. You see, this is the start of my rocker panel, and it was about here. I trimmed off another centimeter, which means, well, I'll have to fill the hole back in. I'm not worried since I did the same thing on the 406 Safari. If you don't know it, I'll link the playlist in the description. It's a car similar in style to the modified 406 Safari I had. I came up with a new shock absorber idea to make it safe and keep these huge wheels, since I don't want to go back to the small ones now that they're on the car. I'll switch the tires. I'm going to put these tires on the white rims, and so, to keep this clearance we have here between the bottom of the spring and our tire, well, I'm simply going to install 405 shock absorbers. The dimensions of the 405 shock absorbers are exactly the same, except that the base of my shock absorber is 4 centimeters longer, which means we can lift it without putting a spacer above the mount, and without doing something weird at the base of the shock absorber. We'll just have to install the 405 shock absorber, and we'll get about the same lift, maybe even a little more. Anyway, we're going to lower the subframe, but I'll show you that once I have the 405 shock absorbers.
As you probably know, Anthony's mood gets worse and worse as he realizes his own incompetence. And after more than 30 minutes of video, it's clear that Anthony realized just how bad his ideas were. So, from now on, everything is going to speed up. Or maybe not.
So, I have a 405 shock absorber. First difference with the 206 shock absorber. Let me show you. 206 shock absorber, 405 shock absorber, here longer by 1.5 centimeters, here longer by 4 centimeters. Problem, doesn't have the little knob for the link rod. Is that a problem? No, not a problem. So, as you understood, I'm going to take this apart again, and I think by mixing things up, and I'm not filming it for you. Honestly, I'm fed up with it. That's it. I'm running out of patience. I drove 6 hours to get the 405 shock absorbers. I was happy to have the 405 shock absorbers. 6 hours on the road, tired. Because you call every junkyard in the world. No, we don't do that. We don't do 405, no. Basically, you call them and they say, no, you're nothing, you're a nobody. 405, get a new car, buy a 208 like everyone else. Well, I could have asked Shatrix. The problem is, it's Friday late afternoon and the video comes out this Sunday. So I would have liked to sort this out before Sunday. You get it? I'm not filming this for you, otherwise...
The prophecy is true.
Yeah, it's done. The driver's side is, I think, finished, and I'm going to explain to you a bit of everything I did so that it can work. So basically, what I did on this side is that I finally took my big 205 70-15 tires and put them on the white rims for maximum style, and honestly, I love the look. There you go. Let's be honest. First, I love the look. Second, you might be able to see it, but I put undercoating inside the fenders, so it looks nicer, and above all, it protects. I cleaned, prepped, and applied the undercoating. It looks classy. Of course, I did the same thing in the front, and in the front, we've got a shock absorber from a 405 spring from a partner, and the sway bar link has been removed. Why remove the sway bar link? Well, first of all, as you saw when I showed you the 405 shock absorber, which is right here, it doesn't have the little tab like the 206 shock absorbers do to attach the sway bar link. On the 405, it must be done differently, and in our case, well, it's not a big deal in the sense that, yes, we'll have to be very careful when driving, that's for sure, but actually it can help us. Since we don't have a limited slip differential on the car, not having a sway bar will help us get more traction. Overall, it's a technique that's used in off-roading and rock crawling, because as a result your wheels have a lot more travel, they can move much more freely. Well, actually, when you have a wheel that's in the air, well, potentially, since there's no sway bar, it won't lift as high, so it will be in contact with the ground, and so we'll have traction. My explanation isn't great since I don't fully understand the topic, but I grasp the main idea even if I can't explain it. Now that I've replaced the driver's side shock absorber, I'll do the same on the passenger side. These are my leftover fender parts from the driver's side. It really gives it a seriously rugged off-road look, so basically, for this side, I'm not going to film it either, because I'm really fed up with it. I'm going to cut the fenders, replace the shock absorber, etc. I'm about to tell you something, and I don't want the voiceover to know. Okay, she's not here. If you want, I was quietly cutting my fenders on the driver's side, as I mentioned, but now I've done it on the passenger side too. On that side, there's something I didn't notice before, but now it's obvious. There's nothing that oh damn, bastard. Yeah, oh damn, the fill. Well yeah, I didn't think of that. But now this is a real problem, because with these wheels, it's fine, car on the ground, no problem. But with the big ones, oh damn, no, but it's obvious that it's not going to work. I'll try.
Oh, good grief. What a damn Peugeot nightmare of an evening. How is it possible to forget such a detail on a project like this? Can we please go back a few days in the past?
And secondly, on the passenger side of the car, we have the fuel tank chute that might also get in our way.
But there you go, but actually, it was obvious. Anthony's incompetence now extends to his memory. Get ready for him to forget how to drive in the videos from 2026.
And it's so annoying too. Oh yeah, of course. Honestly, I feel a bit helpless right now. Oh well, that's the gas tank I'm touching right now with the wheel. The problem is that it's okay, it's a diesel tank, so it doesn't really catch fire. We'll always be able to fix something, but it's still a fuel tank. It has to be sealed if you don't want to have fuel problems, and a combustion car without fuel is useless. Oh, I'm such a damn idiot. I just found a temporary solution that makes it look like the car goes to the gym every night but skips leg day. Well, yeah, I was going to say it's not obvious, but yeah, it is obvious. Actually, when those wheels were on but the fenders weren't cut, they looked really huge. But I have to admit, now they look really tiny next to those ones. So, well, I just left the tire like that, which fills the fender a lot less, but at least it lets me drive while I get everything ready properly. So, I've already found a solution. We're getting organized. As for shipping and all that for the package, it's simple. We're going to remove the car's original fuel tank. So, if you're interested, subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll see that in the next episode. I'm really excited. It's really starting to look like a rally raid car. It cost me $300, and there will be a lot more money than that in performance parts. Even though it's a 1.4-liter turbo diesel, it's crazy. I love it. So yeah, I also noticed that when you stand here facing the car, both front wheels have some crazy positive camber. So the goal is going to be to finally manage to lower the subframe to try to get back a bit of the original geometry. In the meantime, Amine brought us something very interesting last time. He brought us this. Some plates, well, at least one plate for me, for engine underbody protection. You see, I'm not making this up, it's written right on it. So this is a 5mm thick steel plate, laser cut and bent. By the way, big shout out to my buddy who makes these things. Well, it's Juan, plain and simple, who takes care of it, who works with Ticket Foro, so I send him a big shout out. So there you go, this protection plate will be available on the site 206adventure.fr. Of course, I'll put all the links in the description. But that means if you want to get the 210 ready to come with us to Morocco, there are already parts that are produced and available on the market. And that's really cool. So the idea is very simple. It attaches at the front to the crossmember mounting points that are just behind the bumper. Sorry, I'm zooming in a lot, but it's really fun. And at the back, there are 2 holes so it can be mounted onto the subframe. So I suggest we install this thing together. And once that's done, we can start cutting the front bumper to really give it a badass look to die for. I can't wait. Alright, normally, once you've removed the 3 Torx screws in the middle of the bumper and the 2 10mm nuts on each side, it should go like this. Ah, now it's starting to look like a real off-roader. The off-roader, 13mm nuts. And now, normally... There you go, cross member. Well, honestly, I won't lie to you, actually, this white part is really, ugly. I'm going to give it a quick clean and, then I'm going to give it a good coat of black. So if we remove the bumper at a campsite, people will say, yeah, the car looks great. I'm starting to get tired now. Wow, I think that was the fastest black paint job ever, and for good reason. I really put effort into it. Honestly, it looks super clean. Actually, I didn't have any black paint, so I did it with Blackson. You see, it's not even dry yet, and I really put effort into it. I didn't go over the edges anywhere. It looks really clean. So, it's actually pretty heavy, let's be honest. I hope it won't lower the car more than it should. So, damn, what do I attach it to, after over there, the bolt? I'll figure it out later, right? Yeah, let's do that, we'll figure it out later. I'm managing, honestly. That's what you call an independent man. Honestly, if I do this, put the little nut here, put the other little nut here, and then I lift the car. Normally that should work. Normally it's fine, but it's really heavy, you know? No joke. And then, where does it get attached? We're gonna have to drill into the subframe. Oh yeah, it's not done very well, huh? What we're gonna do to be somewhat safe is put the pit jack in place. We're gonna screw in the front. Once it's screwed in at the front with the pit jack, it'll be perfect. We'll just have to drill with a drill. Yeah, at the same time, I don't see what else I could use to drill. Screw, finito, pipo. Whoo, pit jack. Okay. I'm also a bit worried that it might lower the car, because this thing must weigh maybe 15 or 20 kilos. I don't know if Amin, you weighed it. If you did, I'll put it in the comments. Guys, if you see it in the comments, it means he weighed it. Otherwise, it means I didn't ask him. Here you go, it's done well. We're nowhere near the oil pan.
Then Anthony suddenly noticed the super plate's holes didn't align with his super subframe. Obviously, he probably chose a car that had already rolled over 31,000 times and was written off as uneconomical to repair in 26 different countries. To fix this problem, he cut off a small lip from the front crossmember. A wild method for a wild car.
And there you go, that's attached. You see, I pulled on it with 2 ratchet straps that I hooked over there to the rear axle. At least it let me tighten it up a bit, and I think I figured out why. I think my crossmember there might be slightly bent. Anyway, I found a solution. I'm really happy, and honestly, it's really well done. You see, there are openings there on the sides so you can fit your wrench in. It's really well designed. Yeah, Anthony, don't do it that way, or your screw might get caught. Yeah, I got it. We'll see later. So, you get the idea. I'm gonna put everything back together and we'll pick up again when it's reassembled. Well, I put the bumper back on without too much trouble. I'm still a bit disappointed. I expected the plate to be more visible, but that's Amin's design philosophy. He said, I want to make something as subtle as possible. I don't like it when it's subtle. I'm tired and don't know the time. It's Saturday and the video releases tomorrow. Yeah, well, Anthony, maybe you should distract me less? No, it's worth it. Oh, bastard. Hey, there's a fitting problem here. Like this? No. Come on! But you... But get in, damn it!
Every year, more than 600 people have a mental breakdown because of PSA plastic. Clips that don't hold are said to be responsible for more than half of the mental issues among owners. For any help, dial 200-60 Saxo 306-406.
And so that's what the finished product looks like. Well, temporary. Yeah, let's put it that way. I'm exhausted. I don't want to see a single comment like, YouTuber isn't a real job, you do nothing, you just film your life. Seriously, I can't take those crappy comments anymore. I've been working on this for 3 weeks. So, sure, it makes me happy, but I'm not obligated to film it, okay? Anthony, there are too many ads in the video. Shut up, seriously. No, but look at this damn beast. It's a 206 1.4 HDI that some grandpa or grandma went to buy at a Peugeot dealership in 2003. The guy showed up, wrote a bank check, happily signed the order, and bought this. We sprayed about 60 euros of paint on it, and I cut off everything I could. That makes me very happy. So, at the beginning of the video, well, during the sponsorship, I told you we'd change the injectors, do the timing belt, and so on and so on. Well, as you can see, lifting a 206 was way more annoying and tedious than I thought, but it's done, and I'm really happy and especially very eager to go to bed. And I'm sending all my support to Constant because, while I'm filming this, he's editing the footage you saw 4 minutes ago. It's a real mess right now. But it's really cool. So basically, in the next episode, we're going to fix this problem. Because as you saw, it really looks like damn scooter wheels. Even though it's 195 65 15, which is huge compared to the original tires, you know. But compared to this, it looks like a scooter. So, to fix that, you got it, the tank is going to go. And I found a sponsor, which makes me really happy because that's one less thing I have to pay for out of my own pocket. And that's really, really cool. So, if this project excites you even a little, I really hope that's the case because it really fills me with joy to see a 300 euro car in this condition. Well, don't hesitate to subscribe, leave a like, or drop a comment. If you have suggestions, if you've already done a raid in a 205, a raid in a 405, a raid in a Land Rover, I don't know, all advice is welcome. Share it all in the comments. It could help me, and it could help some of you as well. So, that would be really nice. Basically, in the next episode, we're going to do some really cool stuff. We're going to make it truly capable. Running gear, cooling, and more. We're improving everything. It's going to be great. And then, if we have time, we'll also do a bit of mechanical work, like I told you, because the car has 240,000 kilometers, and if you listen to the noise it makes, you really don't feel like getting in. With that, I'm sending you big hugs, and I'll see you next week for a new video about another car that you love. Goodbye! I almost fell on my face.